Hey, what is up guys, I'm Rahul, and today for you I've got 5 tips for the scout choppers in Battlefield 4. Now the scout choppers are probably my favourite choppers in Battlefield 4. They're really manoeuvrable, but they're quite hard to get used to. So my first tip for you guys is use the test range. Now definitely when you first want to try out your scout helicopters, use the test range, because you might be good at the attack helicopters and the transport helicopters at flying them, but the scout helicopter is just that much more agile that you need to get used to it. What I would recommend doing is going in onto the test range, just flying it around, and just like try swooping around the island really fast and really low, and even try flying under that little bridge, because if you can do that all at ease without any like breaking a sweat or anything, you're going to be a really good scout chopper pilot. Now my second tip for you guys is about the primary weapon. Now the standard primary weapon you get are these miniguns, and they're not all that great. I mean, on console, especially if you're not that good with the aim like me, when you're flying these kind of helicopters, it can be quite hard to take out enemies. But what I found was switching to that 25mm cannons, which you get after a few unlocks, they're just so great. They can take out enemies really quickly. They're like got explosive rounds as well, so you can just take out enemies really quickly. They also do damage to vehicles, which the normal ones don't, which is really great. So you can actually do damage to like the MRAPs and then the tanks, vehicles like that, and it also does quite a good amount of damage to the other air vehicles. So if you want to go into an air-to-air combat with another vehicle, you can do that. Now the next tip is about the secondary weapon. Now the secondary weapon which you should probably be going for is the heat seekers. Now the other one you could pick is the guided rockets, but I think the heat seekers are better just because it allows you to take on the other air vehicles that are posing a threat, because if you're not that good with the aiming, it can be quite hard to get a few shots onto the other like scout chopper for instance. So using your heat seekers will be quite good to take them out. The guided rockets aren't that good. Well, they're good for taking out the ground targets, but I think that using your miniguns is better because they are it's quite easy to take out the ground vehicles, and also quite a lot of the time the vehicles are inside, or they'll like drive away, because you have to keep your lock on. So you can't just like lock onto your target, fire a rocket and move away. You have to stay locked onto your enemy vehicles, so that is quite annoying. But with the heat seekers you just have to lock on once, fire the rockets, and then swoop away, and the rockets will hit unless they deploy their flares. The fourth tip I've got for you guys is repairing. Now the scout chopper can hold 4 people including you, so this will be you in the front actually piloting it. Then you've got 2 people, so you've got 1 on either side, who can actually repair your chopper, and then you've got 1 guy in the front alongside you, who I think can target enemies. I know you can do that in Battlefield 3. I'm not too sure if you can do it in Battlefield 4, I haven't really tried it, but if you can, then you should be targeting enemies if you're in the front. Now the people on either side, if you're engineer, you should definitely be repairing your teammate's chopper, as you'll be getting loads of points, and then when you're in a battle with another chopper, you're going to be the guy with the upper hand because you've got 2 repairers, and you can just be like, you're going to be an unstoppable force, because like anything that hits you, you can rep yourself out of it and go back onto the fight. So having repairers on the side of your chopper is going to be a really good option. Now my final tip for you guys is about the countermeasures. Now the one you start off with the ones you start off with are the flares, then you can get the fire extinguisher, then finally the ECM jammer. Now the flares are decent, they work well, but the thing is, because people with stingers, if you've got a team with loads of stingers, like the stingers are basically just the rockets that can lock on, they're so annoying. And if you've got flares, like you flare once, then it takes forever for them to reload the flares, so they can just fire off another stinger and take you out instantly. So if you are using flares, I would recommend like hiding behind a building for a little bit, just in time for you to get the flares back up. I think in this clip or in these clips somewhere, I do like go behind buildings and just rep myself up because I was playing as engineer. And actually, yeah, if you do rep yourself while in a vehicle, you do get XP for that. The fire extinguisher is probably the worst one to pick, because although you can get your vehicle back up above the disabled limit, so you will be able to fly away, and a guy could just stinger you again and you're pretty much gone. So that option is probably not the best. Finally, the ECM jammer, which in my opinion is probably the best. It means that when you hear the lock on, you can just deploy your ECM jammer, and then like they won't be able to lock onto you, and then you probably know where they are, because in these clips I think most of the people with the stingers were in that top building, so I knew they were all there. So if I had an ECM jammer, I could just deploy it, fly up over to them, and just take them all out, so then they couldn't lock onto me again. So the ECM jammer is probably the best countermeasure you guys should be going for. Anyway, these have been 5 tips for the scout choppers in Battlefield 4. They're really nice choppers. Definitely use them if you haven't already. I'm actually glad that when I get my PC there'll be loads more maps where you can use these, because right now on current gen consoles you can't really use them on that many maps, so it is kind of hard to get into a game with them, but when you do, they're just really powerful. So like I said, I've been Rahul. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video, and as always, I'll catch you on the battlefield.